There might be issues. Uh-oh. Wait, it was working just now. What the fuck? Not like this. Hi, Falsey. Yeah, I suppose I am reading you a bedtime story, huh? Why is this not working? Uh... No! Does this work? Not in the slightest. Alright, wonderful. What about F11? And then do... Did that work? Nope. What about capture any full screen application? No. Why? How? How do I capture a Chrome window? Falsey? Help! Oh wait, maybe if I do this browser. Segregated Skittles, you weirdo. I'm trying to add oh god. Fuck, I forgot about that already. I'm trying to add what do you call that? Trying to add the HTML page. Not as an overlay, like I want it as like something I can scroll down and read. So I'm trying. As a source. Which is what I guess this is, huh? If I do this. Oh, okay, that kind of worked. Will it? Nope. Capture the web browser and hide the porn. Look, I tried that. It didn't work. And this also doesn't work. Not really. Yeah, this doesn't work. Yep. How do I capture the web browser? Window capture? Add a new source. Book. Ah, there we go. This worked. Jesus Christ, that's bright. Okay, this works. There we go, this works. Oh, I need to casually just Is this readable? It is. Maybe I should F11 this. So I do F11. That looks so much better. Yep. Okay. There we go. And then I want to move this down. How do I put my face up on there? Not like this. Oh my god. God damn it. Thanks, Manny, for the sub. Jesus Christ, it scared me. I was not expecting that whatsoever. How do I put this all the way at the bottom? I made a mistake. I have done a thing. There we go. Okay, this works, do I not have Spotify running? I do. Drop that a bit. There we go. Thank you, Manny, for the contributing to the fucking thing that I hate my life for. I forgot to turn on the light. Oh my god, Ren, why? Okay, I thought I heard someone. Oh my god, Sam's here too, fuck! Not like this. How far is it already? Jesus Christ. It's fucking 12% already. Oh god, please. Please. I don't want to do Outlast. Fuck you, Falsey. Okay, does this look good? Like, can you read the words? Should I probably expand my fucking face a bit to cover that up? Because about there is where the words are going to be coming in from. Go down a bit there. I do have an emote, yes, done by the lovely Good. Good at home. There you go. She did my emotes. She's my best friend on Twitch, I guess. Is my alert box up? Yes, it is. Okay. It should play. Except for some reason I don't have. Okay. All of a sudden it started lagging. That's wonderful. Yeah, it's very cute. I know, she drew it so well. She did so good. I'm very proud of her for that. It's so good. Why are you lagging? be right back. Apparently I have forgotten to do things, so I'll be right back. I have the water now. Okay, for some reason things are lagging. I'm just gonna yeet this. I wanted like a soft music thing in the background, but clearly that's not gonna be given to me because Spotify hates my guts. Well, no, Spotify doesn't. My computer hates my guts. Sound is fine. It sounded like I was lagging for a good minute or two there. Yeah, it's not even searching things. Fuck it, I'm done. Goodbye. Not willing to bother with that. Okay, I need to post a thing, but basically today we're going to be reading. Sound goes through fine. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Interesting. All right, so we'll be reading The Gods Are Bastards, which is the book you see. I can't move my hands right, but it's somewhere on this side of this this side of the camera. We'll be reading the book, and I'll just leave the about page up for a bit. I have to go and does that show the entire thing? I can't see on the tiny ass OBS like preview screen, but that's the only screen I have available, except if I turn this way and I look at that. But I don't want to do that too often. Okay, that's fine. I need to post in a couple Discords because I told the author I would post in his Discord when I went live with this, so I have to go do that. Live reading of TGAB, which right now. Twitch.tv/GretGundim. That didn't work. That didn't work. No, I need to put the HTTPS. There we go. Okay. I want to put that in a couple other places, because I'm doing it for the first time. Oh my god, I forgot I keep seeing myself on this stuff. Oh boy. On all of your Discords. Because I did the dumb thing. There's a couple other places I want to post this. There. Oh shit, I'm sorry, Kyle. Gonna just yoink Kyle's viewership, don't mind me. Is Cheat still live? Yes, he is. Okay, I shall not do that then. Yes, you are still in this guild. Sure. uh, 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 Anywhere else you think I should put the thing? Manny, no! Thank you, Manny. No. Nah. Okay. No, I think I put it in the places that I think I should. Oh, wait. Um, Angels as well, because she's told me that I should put more stuff in there. So I shall. That's the promo channel. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, Manny, I saw what you did. You fucking tagged everyone. Of course I'm gonna see what you did. Little shit. Alright. I am gonna actually should I tag the author because he told me to drop a link when he did it. So I'm very nervous, by the way. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm very nervous because this is one of the books I really like, and I've been reading it since maybe 5 years ago? Maybe 4. I don't know. I've been reading it for a fucking long time. um, I don't really know what else to say, really. Yes, hi, Fast. Hello. Sorry, I'm panicking slightly. This is possibly the biggest thing I've done so far. Even though it's not really that big. But yes, we will be reading TGAB, The Gods Are Bastards. There are religious themes, religious undertones, religion undertones, possible heresy. It's a lot of fantasy, high fantasy, so it's like high elves, and all that stuff. Drow. There's also dragons. It's also sci-fi because there are lightsabers, although I don't think that's for quite a while in the first book yet. Paladins, gods. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. This is one of my favorite books. It is currently on hiatus. I will say that. But if you do want to read it, you can just type !book and I'll have a short little thing there in chat that will tell you about it. And give you a link to not this page specifically, but to the oh my god, words, to the overview page. Yeah. Webb is a great guy. I love him a lot, and his writing so good, so good. He is on the hiatus right now because of COVID-19 and all that messed people up. Who hasn't? But yeah, Webb is great. Author is. Let me just scroll all the way up so you can see his name. Author is D.D. Webb. He has his own Discord and stuff that I am semi-active in. But yeah, anyway, so this is about the book. I'm gonna try and do voices. I'm not gonna succeed, but I'm gonna try and do voices. I should also say that this is partially or almost completely inspired by my dad, who used to read books to me as a kid, and he would like make a lot of noises and stuff, and like it would make me. It's what gave me my love of reading now, I think, and it's such a big part of myself that I want to share it with you guys somehow. I do have some pro. Fuck off, Gren. I do have some pro voice active friends here. Not really, but Falsey, Manny, Stace, and Skepsy all played. Yes, Sayuri is indeed in the house. They all played fuck, what's the name? Doki Doki Literature Club, and then they voiced different characters in there. So it was hilarious to watch. Fucking Sam with a Sayori voice, Jesus Christ. Um, that was great fun as well. But yeah, anyway, I am panicking. Gosh. All right. Anyway, I'll be reading from now. Buffsuki. Yeah. It is indeed the best string thing you ever did. It was a peak. Nah, actually, it wasn't a peak. It was a good time back then. I'm sorry, Fast. Hey, you have a founder's badge that in and of itself should make you like something else. You have your own pride, Fast. Oh god, I'm panicking so much. Also, apparently, some of my real life friends are watching me, so that's always fun. Uh, oh gosh. Okay, okay, okay. I need to check my fucking phone because I'm panicking, and that apparently is something I do when I panic. God. Okay, okay, okay. So this is the about. This is the blurb that hopefully gets you interested in the book. Okay, I meant like people. Yes, hi, hi Lucy. Uh, or should I say Lem? Just say Lem. Oh my god. Okay, I meant like uni friends, all right, versus like Twitch friends. Okay, how about that? Is that a better? Yes, Sam, I meant people because you guys are fucking nuts. Okay, fuck it, whatever. This is the about page. This hopefully will get you interested in the book and also will serve as like a slight setting thing. But yeah, I keep hearing noises off because my parents have just came back home, so that's why I keep looking that way. Poor me indeed, yes. Ah, God. Also, if you keep hearing tings, it's because people type Gundam or Agret in chat, and that makes me go ding, and then I go to look at chat. Um, I know, right? Fucking nuts. I can't believe it. Jeez. Oh, God. Okay, anyway. This is the about. Evil is rising. The world is rent by strife. The gods have turned away from us. In times past, heroes of sword and sorcery have always risen to turn back the tide of darkness. But what will become of us now? But what will become of us all now that swords are obsolete, sorcery is industrialized, and heroism itself is considered a relic of the past? The times are changing. So, incorporating elements of a Victorian romance, hints of steampunk, and inspiration from the early novels of H. Rider Haggard and author Conan Doyle, all set in a world of classic sword and sorcery. The Gods Are Bastards is a genre-blending fantasy epic, which is accurate. um, Set in a familiar high fantasy universe of wizards, dragons, and elves, the action takes place roughly 1500 years after the medieval stasis in which most high fantasy is set, during an era much like the Earth's Industrial Revolution. Mass production of enchanted goods has revolutionized all aspects of life. Energy weapons have made blades and armor all but is obsolete, and the world is connected and illuminated by magical analogues of trains, telegraphs, and electric lights. With progress has come social and political upheaval. The scattered feudal kingdoms of yore have been consolidated into a now precarious empire. The clerics of various gods have organized themselves into mighty universal church, and the first stirrings of a modern education and enlightenment ethos have taken root in a young university. On the other hand, dragons are nearly extinct, elves have been herded onto reservations, and the days when a person can make a living as a wandering adventurer are long since over. It's a new world, and the people of the empire must learn to live in it, or fall to ancient threats they have tried to forget. So that's like the premise. Yes, that's the word, premise. Fuck. That's the premise of this thing. Uh, I will admit the overlay is not very good because I tried to set it up, failed, and then I set it up like the past like 5 minutes of stream, so that's always great. Also, apparently, I can't stop spitting. So we're gonna start from the fucking first chapter, which is the prologue, obviously. There are a total of, I want to say 7 books. This is all off like the top of my memory, so it's not necessarily accurate. I take no responsibility for how off the cuff my words are, but yeah, I'm still panicking. This is not good. But yeah, prologue is good. We do start off in a university, so there's a lot of like high school drama stuff going on, even though that's not quite it. I don't know how far I'll get into it today. I am hoping to get through like the first 5 or 6 chapters at the very least. I can't close this tab. There we go. Words. Yeah, words have just left me. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. God damn it. Alright, fuck it. I'm just gonna start reading. So this is Book 1, Prologue. The gods are bastards. I already failed. I already failed! Great. The gods are bastards. The scene of the death was quite pitiful. Now, years after the fact, a small creek cut through a little hollow in the prairie. The bowl-shaped depression had probably been a crater centuries ago, before rain and wind had blunted its edges and nature filled it with field grasses and singing cicadas. In the exact center, in a vaguely star-shaped swath of emerald green moss interrupting the golden tall grass, stood a stone marker bearing the carved sunburst of Omnu, the victim's name, and the dates bracketing her pitiful short life. She knelt before the tiny monument, apparently studying it, but in truth, merely listening as he approached. The crunch of his boots, the rattle of the spurs, had given him away long before he spoke to her annoyance. His heavy tread obscured the other sounds for which she listened. You can tell? Fucking hell. You can feel free to tell Father Rayfield I said so. The man went on, coming to a stop at the lip of the crater. His shadow loomed beside her, an elongated figure in a 10-gallon hat. Hands tucked into his belt, in the stationary swagger of a man who kept order in his little town by the sheer force of his personality. The old perf and I don't see eye to eye on much anyway. Here's little June Whitwell, just plain the best girl in the province, near enough. Sang in the choir, donated all her pocket money to the local mission, always spoke respectfully of emperor and country, and up to her eyes in anything ever went on at the church. Once she got caught up in a stagecoach robbery when she was 12, and talked one of the bandits into turning himself in. He went on to become a monk in Omnu's temple. He used to send June letters all the time. The shadow of his hat oscillated as he shook his head slowly. Just best kid I ever knew is all. And here she is, walking out to catch crawdads in the stream, and just burns. Went up like a goddamn firework. Town's almost a mile away, and we heard her scream like it was happening right there. What the hell kind of thing is that? Except an act of the gods. And why the hell would they want to pick on one of the sweetest things they ever created? Yeah, I ain't been to church since. They just plain bastards is all. And I got enough of those coming through my town as it is. I hope the Texan accent is coming through. I am sucking. His steps resumed crunching in the dry grass, more loudly as he picked his way down the slope towards her. The woman rose slowly to her feet, pausing to brush off the knees of her trousers. For a moment, she considered getting one of those hats, just for comfort's sake, but her eyes didn't need protection from the sun. Besides, she liked the way it gleamed on her golden hair. There was always time for a little touch of vanity. I did not move that. What the fuck? I doubt you can imagine what that did to a little town. Oh fuck! I already fucked up the accent. Fucking hell! God damn! Thank you, Red. I doubt you can imagine what that did to a little town like this, where everybody knows everybody in their business, he said, drawing a breast of her. Now, 3 years on, just when it's all starting to finally scab over, here comes some nosy elf with a big city accent, snooping around, asking questions about poor June Whittle, and generally opening old wounds. This town doesn't need that kind of griff, and the Whitwells sure as hell don't. Ma'am, I can't honestly imagine what it is you're after, and I do not care. Speaking with the full authority of my office, this is me telling you to knock it off. Coach leaves for the rail depot at Saddle Ridge tomorrow morning at 9 sharp. I think you ought to be on it. So the question is here, do I do high-pitched voices or not? I can try. I'm not gonna succeed. I can try. But also, I don't actually have a voice for this character in my head. Also, by the way, all these names here at the side, they're all the fucking characters in this book. It's fucking long. It's hella long. There are so many characters in this book, and it's so good. I love this book so much. Yes, I do high pitched voices. Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we go. I hope Web is not here. Different voice for each. I am gonna try to. I'm not gonna succeed because I have kind of forgotten where a lot of the characters are from, like in universe. And in universe, each place has a different like accent, like the world basically, like fucking United States. Texas. I tried for a Texas accent there. Don't think I succeeded, but yeah. And I don't know. I'm trying to come up with different voices for like some of the regions. You'll later learn that this region is like the outer edges of the empire, which is why I was going for like a very southern Texas Ranger type of cowboy type of voice, and also because I kind of feel like it fits this particular character. I'm trying to remember other words and ignoring the flashing on my phone. This other character, the female. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. No need to explain the prologue. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna suck at this. I'm gonna suck so much. Oh, should I put up the map? Maybe when it becomes more relevant, I'll put up the map. But right now, for now, because I plan to read through the entire book over time, of course. Not book, sorry, the entire novel, epic, the entire epic, over time. It's just I want to do it justice, and I don't think I am, but this book has been a good bit of my life for a good while. So anyway, where should you have? I wish I had my helium balloon. Wish you hadn't followed me, Marshall, she murmured without looking up at him. He grunted. Just bet you do. Now, are we gonna have any difficulty over it? 3.5 years ago, in various places across the Empire, 4 girls between the ages of 14 and 19 spontaneously combusted. I'm not doing high pitched, am I? She began pacing in a slow circle around the mossy area, peering at the ground. The swath of green was decorated here and there with tiny strands of... I forgot this was a part of the book. Verstorai. I'm gonna go with Verstorai. Conical flowers in brilliant shades of yellow, orange and crimson. Elf candles, the human settlers called them. They grew only in the aftermath of fire, where ash nourished the soil. Well, combusted might give the wrong impression. They went up like bombs. All 4 on the same day, and though the records aren't precise enough to verify it, I'll bet my years at the very same moment. And I should clarify that 4 is merely the number of cases I've verified so far. I'm almost positive there were others. I first learned of this after meeting the one girl who lived, who's to start in my class this fall. Class? He eyed her up and down, from sweat-stained work shirt to dusty leggings and scuffed snakeskin boots. You're a school teacher? Sorry, I didn't look at chat at all for that bit. I am so sorry. Professor, she corrected absently, still circling. I found no common thread between them all, except that each was struck down while she was alone, isolated, outdoors, in a good distance from any town. In Shiver Gulch, a mining town in Calderon Province, it was a 16-year-old who had been in and out of more trouble than a privateer on shore leave. She was passing through a graveyard on the way to join a few other ne'er-do-wells who were waiting with a bottle of whiskey and a whole bushel of glitchums. You know how the kids are. It was they who ran for help after hearing his scream and seeing the fire. She straightened, stretching her neck, and met his eyes for the first time. He watched warily, as he might a large prowling dog of uncertain intentions. Then she resumed pacing, staring at the moss. In a wealthy village less than 40 miles from the imperial capital itself, there was a poorly closeted lesbian strolling the backwoods to hide from the town bullies. She was struck down as she crossed the footbridge and fell into a creek, which was vaporized on contact. In Las Avalas, another frontier town much like this one, it was a studious young lady of good parenting who worked at the local library and volunteered her time at a stable. Loved animals and reading. It hurt her as she walked across an open pier to the nearby elf grove to return a book she'd borrowed from one of the druids. Which one survived? He asked quietly. She glanced at him again, noting with a wry satisfaction that the bluster had leaked entirely from him entirely, leaving only a fairly young man trying to accept responsibly for his whole narrow world, under pressures he couldn't even begin to understand. She came to a halt in front of the memorial to cruel June Whitwell, whose fate had not saved him. It's never the one you'd expect, she whispered. The unfortunate Miss Whitwell was attacked by a demon, Marshal. An extremely high-ranking demon, several orders of magnitude more powerful than any seen on the physical plane before. It attempted to possess her, but a human body proved a wholly inadequate host, resulting in the destruction of the girl and, luckily, the creature. We know this because the survivor was able to integrate the demon into herself, preserving both. You're letting a demon, you're letting a girl possessed by a demon into your class, he said incredulously. Oh god. The situation is complicated. It's unfathomably complicated. And that's just a fairly small slice of it that I understand. The church and the empire have both been involved in this, but I don't trust either to investigate their own butts using both hands in a mirror, especially not when they begin tripping each other up. So I'm after my own answers. Right. Well, nobody in this town has your answers, Professor Elf. I was crawling at priests and imperial agents for a full year after the incident. If they didn't turn up anything when the scene was if they didn't turn up anything when the scene was fresh, you won't now. But I doubt the investigators thought to ask the Bright Wreath. The who? The Bright Wreath, she said patiently. A cult dedicated to Eliel. They're secretive, mostly masquerading as. I know who the Black Wreath are, lady. That's something else you're not gonna find in this town. Business like that goes on in the cities, not out here among the ranchers and farmers who don't have time for demon worship, even if they have the inclination. Wordlessly, she pointed upward. Raising his eyes, the marshal started violently cursing. The rim of the crater was ringed by figures in hooded ash-grey robes, 9 of them, almost encircling the 2 below. He snatched up the 2 wands holstered at his belt, aiming each up at the menacing figures. Beside him, the professor rolled her eyes. Alright, that's close enough, the marshal snapped, grasping for control of the situation. We're all neighbors here. Nobody needs to get sapped. Let's loose those hoods, slowly now. This is why I wish you hadn't followed me, said the elf mildly. Now I have to keep you alive too. He spared her the withering sidelong glare. Sorry about this, Marshal, said one, his voice muffled. Always did like you, but you're in the wrong place at the worst possible time. The elf needs to go. You know how tricky it is to ask exactly the right questions, make it plain you already know too much when you don't know anything? The professor asked idly, pitching her voice low. The first 2 towns had no significant wraith presence. The third one, I let slip who I was and spooked them into running. I've worked hard on this trap, Marshal, and I have no more leads, so kindly don't screw it up. Alright, enough, shouted the Marshal, raising both wands higher. He was beginning to look rather frazzled. Hoods off, hands where I can see them. Now! 4 of the cultists moved, including the speaker, but they reached into their robes, not for their hoods. The Marshal cursed and squeezed the switches on both his wands. The muted click was lost in a tremendous crack as the bolts of lightning sprang from the tips, striking down 2 of the robe figures. Not fast enough. The 2 others had pulled wands from their hiding places and returned fire. Lightning bolts fizzled into nothingness a few feet from the 2 in the crater, prompting oaths of surprise from above. Do try to not kill them all, said the professor, then bent her lights slightly and leaped 50 feet straight up, somersaulting over the heads of the startled cultists to land gracefully in the tall grass behind the depression. She gestured with both hands, and 2 or more of them went bowling collar spurs into the depression. Except for the speaker, who stood at the lip of the crater as if frozen. The rest scattered. The professor strode unhurriedly after them. By the time the marshal had dragged himself up from below, she had pinned 2 more down under a mass of what looked like giant spiderwebs, and felled the 3rd with another invisible bolt of force. He paused at the rim, aiming both wands at the immobile cultist. Leave him be. He's not going anywhere. The elf called over her shoulder from up ahead. That one seemed most likely to have useful information, so I fixed him in time. Fixed him in? He tore his gaze from the pacified cultist to her, then broke off what he had been about to say. Watch out! A dozen yards behind her, the sole remaining robed figure had doubled over, almost hidden by the waving grass. Now his robe became the ripple, as though blown in a high wind. He let out a low groan, which grew rapidly into a gasping shriek, and then, with a great ripping of fabric and flesh, seemed to explode, blood splattering the grass around him. From the ruins of the cultists rose a bronze colossus, draped in scraps of grey cloth and grisly scraps of the cultist. Spiny wings sprang from the shoulders. It was proportioned like a gorilla, with stubby legs and hugely powerful arms, and covered in coppery scales that gleamed blindingly in the prairie sun. Lacking a neck, its lump of a head sprouted directly from its torso, with a gaping mouth extending halfway down its chest. The creature weakly fluttered its wings once, swiveled its whole body back and forth as though looking for something, then fixed its gaze on the professor and emitted a howl that was more than a roar. Oh, fuck me, groaned the marshal. Said the professor. This complicates matters. Not waiting for any further commentary, he raised both wands and smashed the switches, unleashing blast of lightning directly at the monstrosity. It roared in fury, but gave no sign of falling. The magical bolts left swaths of scorched prairie grass in their wake, but splashed harmlessly across the creature's hide. Still, he pressed forward, giving it everything he had, until the elf tackled him from the side, pushing them both into the ground. Seconds later, the marshal had only just raised his head and spat out a mouthful of loam when the earth shook as the monster ran past them, howling. He froze, the elf's meager weight half on top of him. One of the creature's bronze feet went by so close he could have reached out to grab it, but they were hidden by the tall grass, apparently. He could hear the brute stomping and roaring in frustration a few feet away, seeking his lost prey. It occurred to Marshall that the thing could have been very bright. Not that that would help anyone if it went for the town. That's a berserk, the elf breathed in his ear. A lesser class of demons, but its skin is quite imperious. You'll only draw its attention with your wands. Stay put a moment. Then she was gone. For a tense moment, the only sounds were of the demon's snorting and snuffling. Could it smell? And then suddenly, the professor's voice came from several feet away. Hey there, handsome! There was another roar, and the pounding of heavy feet, followed by a light laugh from the elf. Oh, so close. Go on, have another try. She continued to taunt the creature, leading it progressively further from the marshal, the Whitwell Memorial, and the town, which was just barely visible in the distance. As the sounds of her laughing and the creature's increasingly frustrated yowls drew further away, he carefully rose to a crouch, removing his hat and peeking up through the upper fronds of the grass. He could barely make out the flicker of movement that was the elf, but the demon continued to stomp back and forth after her, roaring. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? He cursed and almost threw himself flat again at her voice, which came from right behind his shoulder. She winked at him from inches away. But you, over there, what? Illusory decoy, she explained. Now, Marshall, don't lose your mind. Anyhow, it looks like we're in luck. Our boy's a slugger, not a caster. I think I'm gonna just sit here and wait for everything to make sense again, he said woodenly. Oh, relax. Bazerga hierarchical. Some of the upper casts are quite smart and can use magic, But this one's clearly nothing but muscle. Easily dealt with. Easily? That thing looks like it could demolish a building. What's crack? Why? We'd best not lead him near any buildings then, eh? Now keep your head down. I'm gonna coax him back this way. She crouched, peering at her duplicate through narrowed eyes and making twitching motions with her fingers. The marshal groaned softly and edged over to give her space. He watched, clutching his wands for comfort, as the laughing decoy began to weave back in their direction, dragging the increasingly furious demon along. Gods. It's all part of the accent? Yeah, I hope so. It was a good time for it to crack as well, because, like, it's where he was like, "Ugh." So, good time to crack. But yikes. The illusion finally came to a dead stop, waving. I can't read. Fuck. The illusion finally came to a dead stop, waving cheerily at the Bazerg. Sensing its chance, the beast pounced on her, roaring in triumph. It turned into a howl of impotent rage when the figure vanished right beneath him. The professor stood and calmly made a lifting motion with her hand. The Bazerg, which had been snuffling about on the ground, trying to locate his lost target, yelped as he suddenly ascended straight into the air. "You can come out, Marshal," she called. "It's quite safe." Slowly, he rose to his feet. The demon hung suspended 20 feet in the air, roaring and swiping at the elf, who stood almost underneath him, well beyond his reach. "I need to concentrate on this bit," she said cheerily, "so kindly busy yourself elsewhere. Perhaps you could round up the rest of our visitors? Here." She handed him a sizable coil of slim, silvery rope, which he had definitely not been holding a moment before. The marshal did as he was told. At least it was something he understood. No matter how he steeled himself, each face he uncovered was a punch to the gut. The lone cultist who'd been the last one felled by the elf's blast was Howard Slater, a jovial, pot-bellied man who ran the town's general store. He had passed many a slow hours in the hot afternoons gossiping with the marshal and everyone else in town. The man had a strong pulse and was breathing, but showed no signs of waking up. Whatever shit hit him with was well designed. He had to use his jackknife to extract the two under the spider webs, and even so they were left covered with a sticky mess he didn't bother to try removing. Maggie Winterson was a splinter with the... Jesus Christ. Maggie Winterson was a spinster with a mouth like a prune, who always was nose deep in everyone's private affairs. Lorenzo Haltas worked at the Scroll Tower office. By all the gods, the man trusted with every message beamed into and out of this town was a demon worshipper. The marsh... Fucking Christ, I can't speak. Oh my god. I need water. The marshal almost dizzied himself, trying to recall whether anything he'd sent to the capital in the last year would have been of interest to the cultists, before forcing himself to drop that futile line of thinking. He lined them up next to Slatter, lashing their ankles and wrists together and to each other. It is a lot of words, yeah. I mean, it is an entire book, so they'd not be going anywhere when they awoke. And thank you for the posture check, man. I'm gonna have to actually sit in this chair now. He glanced over at the professor for a moment. She was still standing beneath the imprisoned demon, staring fixedly up at it. Now, the beast's distracting howls had taken on a desperate tone, and it had begun writhing in apparent pain. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before someone came from town to investigate the commotion. Sound carried a long way over the pier. His work continued, arranging comatose bodies and confiscating wands and knives as he found them. The two in the crater he dragged out to the others. Joe Blakely, the bootmaker. He liked Joe, who was a steady, easygoing man who listened well and gave good advice when a fellow had a problem and needed to unburden himself. The marshal felt an even stronger pang in his heart upon unveiling the fifth. Mary Upwell was the most sought-after young lady in the whole region, and not just because of her cheerful, compassionate nature. Now that he knew it was a she, it was hard not to notice the way that even the baggy grey robe draped becomingly over her figure. The marshal hadn't actively tried to court her, he was one of the few, but embarrassing fantasies involving Marie had kept him up company through more than a few quiet nights. He tied them to the others. That reminds me, this story would be rated at least R. At least R21. There's a bunch of implied sex in. I say implied even though it's probably like pretty much on screen, as much as on screen is on the book. Yeah, this prologue ends with one of those. And it's not smut. It's good book. There's like political stuff. There's it's good. Go listen. Just because it has like a couple scenes here and there. Fuck you. And it's oh god, oh no, my chat computer just did I miss chat? I'm gonna have to alt tab and see. Yes, it is not smut. I do not read the gun smut. The fuck is the gun smut? Oh, the gang smut. It's not arousing in the slightest, if that makes sense. But then again, that's me saying it, so that's probably doesn't make sense for a lot of people. It might be arousing. Okay, laptop's back up. Yes, you are indeed the Gund. Fuck. Okay, if you guys are aroused from this, I don't know what to say to you. You're all easy. Oh god, fuck. Alright. You know, I'm just gonna continue, and then you can see at the end of this prologue chapter how bad it gets. Because I think that's the worst it gets. Yeah, to my own memory, that is the worst it gets. At the end of the chapter. But it's not that bad, honestly. It's whatever is in the book. Yeah, whatever is in the book is always gonna be. No, Falsey, no. because actual smut I do not want to read on stream. I could do a Discord stream of it. I don't mind that, but I'm not gonna read that on like Twitch stream. Oh, what the fuck? I've been tagged. Okay, I've been tagged in things that matter for other stuff that I'm doing, not now. Cool. And I'm being distracted by Discord. Goodbye. It's all tab out of there. Okay. We continue. We continue for now. We continue. Oh, Jesus Christ. Stop. Thank you. Stop. He tried to tune out the buzzard's noises, which had become piteous whimpers. He really didn't want to look up and see what the elf was doing to it. There was no need to restrain the two, felled by his own wands. Some imperial marshals carried customized wands that could deliver varying degrees, all kinds of power. Some were even amateur enchanters who crafted their own to personal specifications. His was standard imperial issue, and cast standard issue lightning bolts which were functionally identical to those that came from the sky. A person could survive a direct hit from a bolt of lightning, but it was a noteworthy event when it happened. It hadn't happened today. So he laid out Jeff Langley, the shy kid newly apprenticed at the bakery, and Walter Jordan, an aging ex-soldier whose ranch lay just over the horizon, with the hoods of the occultist robes over their faces. I will not be reading smut. I think I already said that, but I will not be reading actual smut. Just as he began to reach for the hood over the figure still frozen upright at the lip of the crater, a great thump shook the ground. He spun to behold the professor walking toward him, and the smoking body of the berserk lying in the grass behind him. Don't touch him until I release a spell. He's stuck in a pocket of slow time. Even small impacts could damage him quite a bit. I do not write. I suck at writing. There's like one piece of fiction out there on the internet which I've written. If you can find it, I will read it. AO3 list? I'm sorry, I don't use AO3. I don't use AO3. I used to use Wattpad, and I use web novel. I also read books like these on the internet, novels. I found most of them from like Top Web Fiction. But yeah, I read this. Any other places that I get books from? Physical books, I guess, from the library. But those I don't read too often anymore because anything that's online I can read on my phone, which makes it a lot easier. Cool. Don't need to worry about that. Yes. Yeah, but there's not. I read a lot, and I have read smut before. It's usually very boring, and it gets really awkward. But I've not read it out loud to like a lot of people. I love reading a lot. Like, actually, you guys have seen me when I was in Melbourne with you all for PAX. I was reading non-stop. Like even if you saw me like looking at panels or looking at Gundams and stuff, I was still reading. Anytime I looked at my phone, chances were that I was reading books. Yeah, I read a lot. I don't stop reading. It's a problem. It's a problem. Oh my god. The one thing I didn't do before I started doing this, before I started like asking authors if I could read their books on stream and getting ignored by all but web. Before I actually kind of wanted to go through do a reread of the entire story, but considering that I didn't do the reread, I'm actually doing pretty okay from what my memory of the people, like the characters and stuff, and then using that to fuel the voices. I think I'm doing pretty good. I'm not 100%, of course. Probably not accurate either, but doing good enough for myself, I think. And the voice in my head, being the kind of voice that I'm coming out with, close. Definitely not the professor's voice. The professor's voice was meant to be more like fucking what was her name from Harry Potter? Umbridge. I was trying to do her voice, and I'm hoping that came across, but I don't think it did. Uh-oh. Did stream just crash? No, it didn't. Thank God. Yeah. Something happened to my nose in that last minute and now it's like itching. Anyway. Where am I? Yes. What's the story with that thing? Fuck. What's the story with that thing? He jerked his head at the fallen demon. Oh, don't worry. It's thoroughly dead. Burnt to a proverbial crisp. I thought you said it was invincible. Only the skin. Anything will die if you systematically incinerate its internal organs. She grimaced. Wiping his hands on her shoulders. Not a very kind way to die, but that's the price you pay for superficial invulnerability. Alright, keep a wand out. I don't expect much trouble with this guy, but they've already surprised us once today. He didn't see her so much as wiggle her fingers at the last cultist, but the man suddenly twitched as though waking from a heavy sleep. Take her down, they'll... Huh? That's as far as the confused man got before the elf pointed at him and he went tumbling over backward, unconscious. Careful, the marshal protested. There's such a thing as excessive force. Oh, a bunch of bloomers. He's fine. Let's get him tied up to the rest of them. She did so, while he removed the man's hood and the scarf wrapped over the lower part of his face. It's definitely not the right weather for that, and the man was even sweatier than the rest of his companions. The marshal let out a defeated sigh at beholding the refined features of Jackson Towell, the clerk at the town hall. Ooh, I know him, said the elf in tones of interest. Just the chap to have around if you're planning a spot of skullduggery, eh? Right. Well then. She rubbed her hands together. Sure out of knots, are you? Good. Let's see what our wayward neighbours have to say for themselves. Leaning forward, she slightly touched Torwall on the forehead. He started violently and tried to sit up, succeeding only in entangling himself with Marie. The elf quickly ran down the line, awakening each cultist with a touch. Afternoon, Jackson, the marshal said gravely. Marshal, the clerk replied in the same tone. He managed to look dignified, even sitting in the dirt with his hands bound behind himself and being tugged about by the tension on the rope, as each of his co-conspirators awakened and struggled experimentally. Well, I'll confess, this is a mite embarrassing. You're not going to shoot us, are you, Marshal? Said Marie tremendously, glancing at the two fallen cultists, then back up at him. Tremulously. He pushed back at his hat to scratch his head. Not if I can help it at all, miserable. Which will be contingent upon whether you choose to make it necessary. Needless to say, it's jail for the lot of you till I can send a scroll to the capital. This is imperial business now. Am I losing the accent? I think I am. Oh. Maybe I'll drop the voices. She burst into tears. The marshal grimaced, not enjoying the irony. Even if she was a fairly caught demon cultist, being responsible for a pretty girl weeping never failed to twist his guts into a knot. Well, there is one bit of good news, Tolwell said with weary joviality. I meant what I said, Marshal. Really didn't like the thought of having to kill you. Sat poorly for all of us, in fact. Disappointing as all this is, I feel a good bit better that we missed that particular chance. The professor snorted disdainfully, and Torwell fixed a glare upon her. I see your companion doubts my sincerity. You think all members of the Wraith are necessarily wicked creatures who love nothing but destruction? You're a fool, girl. We're the last hope for humanity, the few willing to stand against the tyranny of the gods themselves. Would you dare to try a mile in our shoes? A
great doom was coming, and when it arrives, you wish you'd join us. She nudged him in the chest with a boot. Don't lecture me, you presumptuous tadpole. I've met your dark goddess, and frankly, she would find you embarrassing. Now, I'll need you to provide some answers concerning those girls your glorious cause casually murdered. So we're gonna play a game called First Person to Talk Doesn't Get Burned Alive like June Whitlow. No one's talking in chat, and that's kind of making me nervous. Is this good? Do y'all like it? I don't know. Now hold it, the marshal snapped, drowning out a few muted exclamations of fear. These folk are Imperial prisoners, Professor. If you had the authority to interrogate them, you'd have shown me the proof of it before. Nobody's laying a hand on them till I get back up out here. Boy, she said very calmly, after all we've been through together, surely you don't imagine you can stop me from doing whatever I damn well please? He locked his gaze with hers, refusing to back down an inch. The fact was, she was right. He'd seen this woman in action, and he knew he wasn't a match for her. But some things were more important than practicality. He had an oath and a duty, and an agent of the Terran Emperor did not throw that aside for anything. Yes, Terran Emperor. That's a name drop on the site name because that is the information on the book. Because that's the site name. It's so stupid. The first time I saw that, I completely missed it. I didn't realize till like way later what the site name was, because you don't really look at that when you're scrolling down on your phone. Because when you scroll down the phone, let's see where am I at? Yeah, because when you scroll on the phone, the link just disappears, so you don't really get to see that. But yeah. Also, yes, that was another book that I was reading. Calm down. Don't worry about it. Definitely don't read too much. Shh. Who are you? asked Tarwell quietly, peering up at the elf. She tore her eyes away from the marshals, turning to study the prisoners dispassionately, then smiled. Well, since we're all going to be such good friends, I suppose there's no harm in you knowing at this point. So she told them her name. The marshal took a reflexive step backward, and a new round of struggles and shouts resonated along the row of bound cultists. Jackson Tarwell. Have I been saying Tarwell this entire time? Fuck! Jackson Tarwell bared his teeth at the elf in a feral snarl, furiously twitching and shifting his arms, still bound behind himself. An interesting thesis, the elf said dryly, but I'm afraid those bonds aren't likely. But I'm afraid those bonds aren't likely to be any looser just because you suddenly want even more to be out of them. No, don't stop on my account. By all means, wear yourselves out. I have all the time in the world. Wait, said the marshal suddenly, shouldering her aside. Something's not... Even as he knelt to look more closely at Torwall, the man convulsed violently, his eyes rolling up and tumbled over backward, taking Marie down with him. He trashed in his bonds, beginning to foam at the mouth. Oh shit, hissed the professor. Their hands, Marshal! Grab their hands! Stop them! They were too late. Up and down the road, the imprisoned cultists had begun to breathe, a few groaning in obvious agony. Each of them appeared to be suffering some kind of seizure. Sorry. The screen flashed on the side and I was like, huh? Oh! Also, because I looked at the screen flashing, I have crowd control now. I will be playing Minecraft with crowd control sometime in the future. I do not know when. Possibly not this week, probably not next week either, because I still haven't finished setting it up. But I'll probably be doing like a bunch of hardcore runs, because I do play the game enough that I kind of expect myself to be able to do hardcore runs normally. And with crowd control, you'll be able to control the game, sort of, or at least my character and the game. And you'll be able to like summon things, summon creepers, blow things up, strike lightning down on me, and if you spend enough points, you can even do the thing that kills me, like instant, no, nothing else. Oh, there's also inventory bombs. Yeah, it'll be fun when I do get to it. I need to set it up, and I've not exactly been having the most motivated of weeks. Even this, honestly, I'm only doing because I told Webb that I would do it when I asked him, and that, and because I really like the book, and it's fun. Oh, hello Trivix, thank you for the lurk. Lots of love to you as well, my dude. But yeah, I've not been having the best week mentally, and I was hoping that doing this, which is something I've been excited for a while, would help me get over it. At least slightly, hopefully, maybe. And then, like, if I do get over it, then I can, like, chill, sort of. But well, if it happens, it happens, right? What the fuck's wrong with my nose? Alright. The elf produced a gleaming saber from midair and unceremoniously slashed Tarwell loose from the others. She rolled him, still twitching, over onto his front, revealing a small brass-bound glass tube tucked into his left hand. Upon close inspection, the marshal saw that one end bore a needle, which was pressed into his opposite wrist. She snatched it out of his grasp, but the damage was done. Already, Torwall had fallen still, and the others were faltering in their struggles. Marshall dashed around behind them, seeing the same little needle tubes pressed into each of their veins, into each's veins. "What do you do?" he shouted. "What can we do?" Nothing. Her voice was like ice. She straightened slowly, glaring down at the glass tube clutched in her hand. "There are half a dozen poisons this might have been, and I don't have antidotes for any of them. If I did, it wouldn't help. They've been injected directly into the blood. It wouldn't be fast enough." He cursed helplessly, catching Mary upward by her shoulders as she twitched quite weakly, foam dribbling from her perfect lips. Then finally went still. He held her numb for a few long moments before lowering her gently to the ground alongside the others. Not one of them still breathed. "What is that?" he asked, surprised by the calm of his own voice. "It is called the hypodermic syringe, one of the new Dwarven inventions, made for delivering medicine. It's held in the tube here. Then you press the needle into someone's skin and push the plunger, which sends the fluid right into their bloodstream. I bet it took all of 2 minutes for someone to figure out how good they'd be for delivering poison. They must have had them up their sleeves, above where you check the tie the wrist. Rather ingenious, really." Right, yeah, there's a lot of character death. On screen as well as off screen. Always fun. He dropped his gaze to Marie's face. It was an awful sight. Her cheeks flecked with foam, eyes rolled up into her skull, mouth twisted in agony. Carefully, he pulled the hood of her robe out from under her head and draped it over her face, then began moving down the line, doing the same for each of them. He didn't look up from his task as he spoke. Was it true what you said? You really heard? And this is where I fuck up because I cannot remember how I pronounced that name in my head. Archie? I think I'll go with Archie. Archie Telwyn? You're really she corrected. And yeah, I am. For all the good it did here. She threw the syringe to the ground in disgust. Congratulations, Marshal. You're now a member of a very elite group of men who've seen the great Professor Telwyn made a fool of. Fewer than a dozen have joined in the last century. In fact, I think you may be the only one currently alive. She knelt, and a surprising gentleness closed Jackson Tolwell's eyes, draping his hood over his face, just as the marshal reached the other end of the lawn. Finding himself without something immediately to do, he simply sat down in the grass, staring up at her. She sighed heavily, knuckling the small of her back, and turned her head toward the distant town. I don't believe it. Demon worshippers in my town. That's not so shocking, she said dismissively. The Black Wraith is everywhere. Mostly just folks looking to spice up their lives with a little bit of the illicit occult and a couple of true believers to keep them motivated. No, what's disturbing is that this circle had a suicide seminar on hand, as well as having been supplied with shiny new tech from the Dwarven Kingdoms, and every one of them had the will to end it, rather than risk being made to talk. Usually you can count on a few cowards not to realize which is the easier way out. This is not what I expected from a few cultists in some backwater town. I was obviously very close. She sighed again, then shook herself. Well, I'm staying at the Willow Branch Inn. Oh, he said numbly. Yes, right. I need to get a statement from you after I do something with... He trailed off, sweeping his gaze over the row of Del Copters who had minutes before been friends and neighbors he was sworn to protect. Statements, sure. Look, I've been embarrassingly thwarted and seen months of investigation go up in smoke. I now have to start over from scratch, as if I have the bloody time for it, which means hoping another lead into another grisly death will surface. I owe it to my faculty not to come home this frustrated. They've enough stress on their shoulders with the semester starting in 2 weeks. As such, I intend to get thoroughly drunk and laid before catching my coach in the morning. Find my room before 10 o'clock tonight if you wish to be part of it. And this is what I meant. With that, she walked away, leaving the poleaxed Imperial Marshal sitting amid the carnage left in her wake. Professor Telwyn didn't hurry, but let her feet carry her at their own pace back towards the town. Walking was good for thinking. The legs pumped blood cleanly through the brain. How many other cases were like this were there, scattered throughout the Empire? Realistically, it was probably a random number. Maybe no more than the 4 she'd already found. Archne had been roaming... Archne? Fuck, I already forgot how to pronounce it. Fuck! Archne had been roaming the world for better than 3 millennia, and become very accustomed to the unexplained and just plain weird. Sometimes these events were hints of broader things in motion, but more often they were just the chaotic dirges of a world too full of magic and people like herself who felt the need to stir the pot. But in that time, she'd also learned to trust her haunches. Can you all hear that? I hope not. That was really loud. To learn to trust the haunches. Her subconscious mind was a finely tuned machine that drew connections long before she was able to spot them. And right now, it was telling her that the case of the exploding girls was not another coincidence. The Queen of Demons had 7 daughters. 12 were new, even though she couldn't yet prove it, that she now had at least 3 fewer. Now, the best thing she could hope for was that somewhere in the Empire, 3 other innocent young lives had been pointlessly, excruciatingly snuffed out in a blaze of hellfire. The alternative was at least one more archdemon with a brand new human body, running around doing news what, and not carefully under her own eyes, as was the girl who had survived the possession. And if that were the case, a great doom didn't begin to describe it. Alright, so that's the prologue. That's a lot of reading. Most of the chapters are around this length, which is why I was saying I was hoping I'll get like through 1 or 2 chapters. But holy shit, it's already been an hour 30 minutes. Jesus Christ. I need a break. How many chapters? I don't know, man. This book has like a bunch. Actually, let me click next chapter and then open up table of contents. Yeah, there's 21 chapters, 22 chapters, 10 chapters. Oh, book 10, book 3 was short. Wow. 22 chapters plus 2 extras. 31 chapters, 34 chapters, 13 chapters plus 2 extra, 26 chapters, 38 chapters. Yeah, which is why I wanted to do one of the longer books that I've been reading. 52 and 2 extra, book 11, book 12, book 13. I remembered completely wrong how many books there are. Book 14, book 15, 16. It's getting up to 60 chapters. And then all these bonus chapters, which are also a lot of fun to read. 65 of them. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I love this book a lot. I don't know if you can tell. Oh, stream crashed on that one. Do you all say anything after that? No, you just said perfect. Good. Yeah, this is... If I was to read everything on stream, it would be a long time. But I'm hoping I get through maybe like the first 2 or 3 books over time. And this would be like a constant thing. So maybe like, I'm thinking maybe once a month or maybe twice a month, depending on how well received it is, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna take a short break. I do not have anything to show during this short break, but it is going to happen anyway. For some reason, my alert queue does not have anything about many subscribing to me, so oops. Also, thank you all for contributing to the fucking I'm Gonna Cry challenge. I hate you all for that. I'll be playing Outlast for that. Whenever it happens, I'll schedule a time after you all reach it, because I do not want to schedule a time before you all reach it. Yeah, I hate you, Falsey. Fuck you for it. I'm wondering if I should read the next chapter as well, or should I like end stream here? I'm like kind of tired. But I also don't really want to end stream here because it's only been an hour. Love you too, Falsey. Maybe I'll take a break because I'm kind of hungry. Uh, well, I say kinda, but I'm really like very hungry. Uh, and the next chapter is a long one as well, like a really long one. And I need to come up with like a hotty totty voice if I'm gonna keep going with voices. I kind of think that I kind of messed up the voices enough that like they all blended together. I forgot that some of the characters in that chapter spoke. Um, as I'm gonna forget in this chapter as well that there are gonna be some characters who spoke. Kind of need to check my phone because it's been blinking at me and I want to see what the alerts are about. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna go on a short break. Where is it? Where's the text? There we go. Yeah, hydrating and dehydrating is a good joke. Gonna move this slightly up so you all can read the first few words if you wanna. Once again, exclamation mark book to go read the book for yourselves. The book is currently on hiatus due to mental health. Webb is the one reading it. I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn off the camera because I don't want to see myself doing things. But yeah, I should turn on music, shouldn't I? Music. What do you mean, Ren? I don't do bad things. Shush. Calm down now. Calm your libido down. Spotify? Are you playing? What? There you go. All right, I'll be back in maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. I am hungry. I want to get some food for myself, and then we'll continue the stream. Uh, but yeah, till then, enjoy some lo-fi hip hop beats, and I'll be right back. hello. I am back. I have food here with me. It is lunchtime for me now. I'm not actually eating lunch. Kinda hungry. Actually, maybe I should switch to just chatting while I do this. While I eat. Yeah, let's go. You're on break. Are you guys eating lunch as well? Is anyone even still here? A liquid lunch? What are you doing, Manny? Oh. It's gonna lag for a second. There we go. Falsy sound streaming. That's interesting. Cheat is still streaming. I'm gonna get those points. Yeah, what do you mean by liquid lunch, man? Are you just having a drink and nothing else? Oh, playing Cyberpunk. Okay. I was about to say I thought you finished it, but I guess you haven't. Trying to eat with one hand is weird. Side missions, I see. Are the side missions like timed? Like if you don't do them before a certain, before doing a certain story mission, they just disappear? Like in Nier or something? Ah, okay. That's interesting. Oh, what? Yeah, that's kind of. I mean, I guess it stretches like the suspension of belief, but I guess. I guess it makes sense. Because they would have to like put you back in a state where you can actually do something with that stuff, right? Because presumably whatever you do in as the final mission, changes enough of the world that some missions would just disappear. A few hours? Holy shit! That is crazy. That is long as shit. Holy crap. I didn't expect that. Wait, does that mean the final mission is like majority of the game? It's like 50% of the game or some shit? Or is it just all cutscenes? No, really? Oh, that's good. Oh, my nose. Why? Why is it leaking? It depends on what ending you go for, seriously. Nose. Should I go get more food now? The fuck? Do I get more food now? I think yes. I think I'll go get more food now. I'll be right back. Chair stream. Chair stream, so I'll come back. Oh, I forgot to unmute. There you go. I got more food. This is basically a mukbang stream at this point. Um, I don't know how much of this eating sounds you can hear, but I'm sorry. Also, if you guys want to, you can chat while I'm reading. I'm okay with that. I just, I don't know. I don't mind if you guys chat. Oh, I maybe should not have taken that much spicy stuff. Uh oh. Just catching up with Discord notifications. Because clearly this is when I should. Hydrate. Alright. Oh. Why did that not appear on the chat there? Huh. F5. Tell me the head of one of the megacrops is run by vampires created by cyber necromancers from another planet. What? What? Oh god, I can hear myself. Nope. Oh wait. Why is the hydrate not appearing on this? Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do one more chapter and then end stream or switch to something else. Because clearly it takes way too much time. An hour for a chapter? Jesus Christ. This local is good though. Don't know if you guys can hear it, because for some reason, every time I play Spotify, no one hears it. I'm always concerned. It's both good and bad. Because if no one hears it, then DMC can't actually like strike me. But if I'm not speaking, then people can hear it. Which is why I switched to lo-fi when I brought food over. Okay, you didn't ask me to hydrate yet. I wanted to double check that because in the other screen it's not telling me that you asked me to hydrate. So I'm like, huh? Yeesh, 12k contributed to fucking crime. Almost 13. God damn, you guys are fucking crazy. Why? I don't understand why. Okay, I'm gonna go put that for washing. I'll be right back again. Alright, I'm back. Let's get back to reading. What's the text? Sure. Can y'all hear the lo-fi? If it's like very soft, I don't mind like lowering it. Sorry, if you can hear it, I don't mind lowering it. But complete silence is a bit too distracting, I guess the word would be. Does that switch? If I switch to another window, it does not. Cool. Alright. So, if you guys want to still continue asking me questions, you can go ahead. Just because I'm reading doesn't mean I won't read chat. Just because I'm reading the book doesn't mean I won't read chat. There we go. Oh man, I need to come up with names for some of these. Not names, accents for some of these people because I don't remember them. Oh boy. Alright. Alright. Lol. Why you lol? I don't know what was it about. Why you lol? Why you lol? I don't understand. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Actually, no. Keep going. I'll just lower it. And then now you guys can't hear it at all, and it's like in the background for me. Glad as she was to be off the caravan. Fuck. Let's restart that. Glad that she. Now I remember why I have music off. Because it makes the world lag. Oh, you done lagging some so. Okay. Glad as she was to be off the caravan, Tristany stepped into a scene of such chaos as she froze, unable to take it all in. Yeah. The rail station with the rail station at Calderas was bigger than the entire abbey back home, but vastly open and apparently made of glass. She'd have thought the metal framework which supported it was some kind of empty cage, except the rain was pounding on it at the moment. Worse, the huge station was crammed with people, shouting, shoving people, dressed in variety of costumes such as she had never seen. Barely a majority of them were even human. She inhaled deeply, trying to orient herself. The hand of Avi could not be paralyzed by the indecision, nor peer about stupidly like some sort of bumpkin just in from the sticks. Truthfully, that might be a fair description, and Tristany had little in the way of personal ego, but she was terrified of being an embarrassment to her goddess. She could do this. Behind her, someone cleared his throat loudly. Blushing, she mumbled an apology and quickly tugged herself and her trunk out of the path so everyone else could leave the caravan. Apparently, the hand of Eve could freeze like a spooked rabbit and hold up the entirety of imperial commerce on this rail line. Only the fear of making herself an even bigger spectacle stopped her from slapping her own face in frustration. Judging by the level of pushing and general rudeness going on around her, that more gentle reminder had been a very special treatment. Well, even if people didn't know the significance of the silver finish of her armor, it was still recognizably the ceremonial gear of the Sisters of Eve. Few would seek to irritate her. She took up a position to the side of the caravan steps, out of everyone's way, and fished out a travel itinerary from her belt pouch to look it over again. Not that she hadn't memorized the thing long since, and anyway it wasn't that complicated, but there was a tiny bit of familiarity. People back home weren't all that homogeneous, or so she thought. Oh, I'm sorry, my nose is just killing me all of a sudden. I think it's the aircon I had on up till now. And now that I turned it off, it's like, haha, now you're cold, bitch. Virdril had been settled by humans from every part of the Empire, and even today was home to humans of every color, shape, and description. But with the exception of the odd elven traveler and the lizard folk up in the mountains, they were all humans and dressed themselves mostly in the same humble style. The people here in the station were a cross-section of the entire Empire, or so it seemed to her, and she didn't know what to make of the variety of costumes she saw. Suits, waistcoats, and coats with long tails seemed a custom for most men, often with stovepipe hats on the more elaborately dressed, or wider-brimmed 10-gallon styles for those who worked for a living. Nearby, for those who worked for a living, nearby a knot of well-to-do ladies tittered among themselves, garbed in flowing pastel gowns, a menagerie of preposterous hats and corsets. Tristany forced herself not to gape. How could a woman even breathe in those things, much less move? Perhaps Mother Narni had been right about fashion being a weapon against all womankind. Oddly dressed as they may be, though, humans was something Tristany understood, and most of her attention was on the various others in the crowd. There were more elves than she'd ever imagined seeing in one place, mostly keeping to themselves and moving in small pockets in the crowd, as if their neighbors were reluctant to touch them, even by accident. Dwarves she only knew by description, but the several who were present, trundling rapidly about their business on the platform, were unmistakable even so. A passing couple of very small people on a goat-pulled cart had to be gnomes of some kind. Through the gaps in the crowd, Tristany glimpsed a small family of lizard folk seated against one wall, a battered hat set in front of them. That sight was troubling. She'd rarely dealt with the lizard folk back home, but she thought of them as too proud to beg. She was gathering stares of her own, as well. None hostile, but many odd, and some rather fearful. Apparently, quite a few people in Calderas did know what silver armor meant. There might even be some present who could sense the aura of divine power that she had been told hovered over her. Tristany schooled her expression, tucked away her itinerary, and set off in search of Platform 10. There hadn't been a paladin of Ave in 30 years, and she surely hadn't been called now to make a spectacle of herself in the rail station. 5 minutes later, she had to give up and reorient herself again. The layout of the station was confusing. Platforms were interspaced with rail lines, reached by collections of iron-wrought footbridges that arced over the rails themselves. Her trunk had a handle in wheels, which she thought great luxury when it was first given to her, but that was before she had to drag it up and down half a dozen set of stairs. The platforms weren't labeled in the most helpful manner either. She ultimately had to stop in the middle of one of the footbridges and crane her neck around to find signs, which revealed she had been going in the wrong direction. With a sigh, Tristany turned back and made her up and down way, gritting her teeth against the constant bumping of her trunk to platform 10. That paragraph, this entire paragraph right here, this is how I felt the first time I came back to Sydney. Why is it lagging? The fuck? Oh god, everything is lagging, isn't it? Is stream lagging for you guys as well? For you guys as well? Manny? Manny, is stream lagging for you? It seems so if you haven't replied to me yet. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Spaghetti-o. No lag? Oh. Okay, because my entire laptop is lagging. Not anymore. I'm gonna read. Anyway, this entire paragraph that I just read reminds me a lot of like the first time I came back to Sydney after I left for like my first from my first holidays. When I came back, I had a similar suitcase with like wheels and stuff, and I was like, haha, I have wheels, and I had to go up and down fucking Central Station with like trying to find the right platform number. That scene exactly describes like how I felt then. I was like, fuck. Especially with the bringing up and down like stairs and like smacking it against myself and stuff. Yep. Annoying as shit. My voice hasn't? Okay, that's good. Because it looked like it was lagging for me, but if it hasn't, like my voice hasn't lagged, that's good. He's good. She was a good 20 minutes early to catch the next caravan, but makes certain to consult the board posted by the stairs to verify that this would be the one going to last block. Ooh, sorry. With little else to do but wait, she tucked herself as out of the way as she could on the bustling platform and fell back to studying her environment. Of the same iron construction as the footbridges, there were several small platforms extending over the rails themselves, which were in use for a variety of purposes. Two were clearly for storage, piled high with crates and barrels. Another, otherwise empty, was being taken advantage of by several travellers as a respite from the pushing throng. On the nearest, a couple of elves had set up a tiny stand and were selling tea from beneath a hand-painted sign reading Platform 9 3/4. Trissini appreciated the whimsy, but she was not tempted. Between her general nervousness, the roiling in her stomach from the rail ride she'd just escaped, and the anticipation of the next one, she couldn't have kept a cup of tea down. Riding the rails was one of the most romanticized experiences of the modern age. In practice, she found it rather like being sealed inside a barrel and rolled down a hill. That's always fun. So yes, there's a bunch of references in this. Some will be stuff like 9 3/4. There is Star Wars references in this further on. Yeah, it's a great story. I love it. It's got so many references to things that it just feels more fun because of that. Yeah, fun is a good way to describe that. Yeah. Hey, Blondie! Yeah, you, girlie! I'm talking to you! It took a couple of repetitions for Trissini to realize she was being addressed. No one in her life had ever spoken to her that way, and since she had gained a sword and armor, most people possessed of any sense would not have dared. Now, a man ambled up to her directly, grinning and eyeing her up and down as he came in a manner that nearly made her reach for her sword. He was garbed like something out of a penny novel, all dust-stained denim and flannel, with snakeskin boots and a 10-gallon hat. "Mighty pleased to meet you, missy," he said in a proud drawl, his grin becoming an outright leer. "If you got a bit before your car comes, maybe we can find a shady spot to have a drink? My treat." Trissini was too astonished by the sheer effrontery to react as she otherwise might. That brought her a moment to reconsider her first impulse. Trashing this fool would doubtless lead to trouble, no matter how much he deserved it. At the very least, she'd miss a caravan. "No, thank you," she replied stiffly. A whipping with the flat of her blade would do him a world of good, but she could not go around smiting every idiot who lacked manners. She reminded herself forcefully of this as he leaned in close enough for her to smell the whiskey on his breath. Aw, don't be like that, darling. What? I bet you found me the best company you ever. Ugh. A second cowboy, dressed similarly and strongly resembling her admirer in the face, shouldered him roughly aside, then turned to her and tugged the brim of his hat. My apologies, ma'am. My brother ain't been off the ranch in half a year, and sometimes he forgets he was raised by wolves. He cut off the protest foaming on the first man's face by swatting him upside the back of his head. By swatting him upside the back of the head, forcing him to catch his flying hat. Won't happen again. Excuse us. Don't lose me, Issachar, the first cowboy said furiously as his brother grabbed him by the arm and began dragging him towards the nearest set of steps. I was just having some. You shut the hell up, Len. Land's sakes, boy, if you gotta be embarrassing, could you at least not be suicidal? Don't you know a paladin when you see one? You ain't that shit-headed. They were halfway up the footbridge, but their loud conversation remained clearly audible on platform 10. Paladin? That ain't no paladin, dumbass. That girl ain't more than 15. Jebediah Jenkins, if I weren't such a good brother, I would send you back over there to finish what you started and spare myself the trouble of whooping your ass, bothering a girl you think is 15. Tristany would have liked very much to sink into the platform and vanish. The brothers Jenkins were acquiring stares, which were quickly transferred to herself as people discerned the source of their quarrel. Against her will, her cheeks heated. Hopefully, the onlookers would take it for righteous anger, selflessly suppressed. Yeah, and if hopes were coins, Ave would have a temple in every hamlet in the empire. A well-dressed man with the silver griffin badge of an imperial agent, pinned to the breast of his coat, and enamel decorating his hat, shouldered quickly through the crowd, moving purposefully in the direction of the Loud Brothers. His wand remained holstered, though he held a hand conspicuously near it, and kept his gaze fixed on the two cowboys. He paused before the two cowboys. He paused before Tristany to tilt his hat respectfully to her. Blessings, man. And to you, Sheriff, she replied gratefully, inclining her head. At least someone took her seriously without having to taste her plate. She did not look 15. He proceeded after his quarry, and she fixed her gaze stiffly on a point above everyone's heads. It was funny how she could tell people whispering about her, despite the ambient noise in the station. Holy crap! I didn't realize how many foreshadowing things were there in this. Oh, that's interesting. It's really interesting. Oh, that's fun. She was unaccustomed to the crawling space of time in a tense situation. Tristany's days were always full. There was never a lack of work to be done at the Abbey, and whenever she was not pitching in her fair share, she had more training and period to attend to than the other nervous sisters. On the very rare occasions when she wanted time to pass by faster, she would occupy herself in meditation or in communing with the goddess. There was simply nothing to do on the platform. Focusing inward was not an option, as she did not feel remotely safe in this crowd of pushy strangers, especially especially after the encounters with the Jenkinses. She had a sword in her sheath at her belt and a shield on her back, but had there been enough space to run through a combat drill without injuring someone, the sight would have caused turmoil in the bustling station. So she stood for 15 indeterminable minutes, while the caravans rolled by on their rails and people gazed curiously at her, often pausing in their own business to do so. Tristany practiced her situational awareness, keeping her gaze rigidly fixed on empty space, but trying to maintain a knowledge of her surroundings through her peripheral vision. It was the only thing she could think of to do, aside from weltering in her own discomfort. She was the first to move when the caravan slowed to a stop next to platform 10. Trissini watched the procedure with interest. She had seen it at the much smaller rail depot in Trissino, but it remained impressive. The rail itself, a single raised line on spokes like a banister that extended into distance in both directions, began to hum and glow arcane blue with the caravan's approach. The train that arrived to take her on to Glass Rock had 8 passengers cars, twice the size of the one that had brought her here. They looked the same though, tiny bits of glass and steel looking like a single square tube with so many in a line. This caravan also had 4 larger, boxy carro wagons, affixed after the passenger cars, and another angular enchanter's post behind that to match the one at the front. She wondered if the added weight meant it needed a synced enchanter to keep it going. Trissini edged back from the rail, along with the other passengers as lightning sparked along the rim of the platform, with the energy of the caravan halting itself. The tiny hairs on her arms and the back of her neck stood upright. She stood back to let the passengers disembark, most of them looking as stiff and disoriented as she had after her previous rail ride, then moved quickly to claim her seat in the frontmost car, just behind the enchanter's post. Nobody complained or tried to slip in ahead of her. Trissini supposed it was all right to benefit from a healthy respect for paladins, as long as she wasn't intimidating people on purpose. If folk thought the hand of Ivy might smite them for pushing in line ahead of her, well, there wasn't much she could do about that, aside from proving them wrong. She stowed her trunk under the seat as she'd been shown on the last caravan, strapping it in tightly with a freight arrangement of leather thongs and buckles provided. Then unslung her shield and laid it on the bench beside her before taking her seat. This car might have been a duplicate of the other, except she had it to herself. The padded benches were wide enough to sit 3 without much discomfort. She took the one facing the front, reasoning it would diminish the dizzying terror of the rail ride not to have to do it backward. It was like being in a small glass bubble, or in a global glass bubble, and she enjoyed the solitude after the crowded platform. People weren't hurrying to join her, but that would probably only last until someone came along who hadn't seen the paladin ducking him. She enjoyed the breather while it lasted, literally. Proper breathing was essential to both combat form and meditation, and Trissini had been storing her gathering tension in her chest. The caravan was parked for several long minutes, presumably while the large cargo cars in the rear were loaded and or unloaded, and she took full advantage of the time to breathe slowly and evenly without slipping into full meditation. Thus, she was calm enough not to be overly perturbed when a man entered her car. "Good day," he said cheerily, straightening. He was an older gentleman, well dressed and very round about the middle, with a jolly face and actuated by bushy steel-colored sideburns. "Ah, a sister. Excellent. I was just wondering why a pretty girl was sitting alone in a car. Usually the lads would be all over you. Don't mind if I share, do you? It's filling up back there, and a man of my great physical fitness is less welcome where the seats must be squeezed into." He chortled, patting his plump belly. "The caravan is open to all," she said politely, forcing a smile. "Please, be welcome." It was so formal as to be stilted, but she couldn't just up and say she didn't mind his company. Ave frowned upon lies, even little social ones. "Many thanks, my dear, many thanks," he grunted as she lowered himself onto the bench opposite her, sliding over as it gripped the handhold, bolted onto the wall of the caravan. "Woof! As often as I ride these things, you'd think I'll grow accustomed to the acrobatics it takes getting in and out of them. Haywood Paxton, Imperial Surveyor." He extended a hand to her. I am the Emperor's eyes on the frontier. Of course, the Emperor has more eyes than a nest of spiders. And do please remind me of that if I start to sound like I think I'm important. His pale eyes twinkled with good humor. Tricinia Vela, she replied, shaking his hand. His eyes flicked over her, and she tensed. But it was nothing like the gaze Jebediah Jenkins had dragged across her. In fact, Mr. Paxton seemed to be looking at her armor, not her body. His eyes darted from braces to boots to divided leather skirt, without lingering on her breastplate the way too many men did. She saw the moment when he absorbed the fact her Avenic armor was silver rather than bronze. Homeless breath! He exclaimed, settling back in his own seat and regarding her wide-eyed. Forgive if I'm impotent, Miss Avella, but would you be a paladin? I am, she forced a small smile. At least he knew the proper way to address the sister of Ave. He was the first man she'd met on her journey who did. Bless my old soul, he enthused. I'd heard that Ave had called a new paladin, but... Well, it's a real privilege, man. An honor, it truly is. Wait till I tell the grandchildren I rode the rail for paladin. He laughed aloud. Now, you be sure to tell me if I'm bothering you, Miss Avella. I do tend to let the old mouth run away with me sometimes. I don't mind, she replied, and found she meant it. Tricini was not used to men, obviously. She hadn't been around them before, as the sisters of Away were not a cloistered order. Sorry. I messed that sentence up so badly. Tricini was not used to men. Obviously, she'd been around them before, as the sisters of Away were not a cloistered order, but briefly or at a distance usually. Those men who weren't shy about being around sisters had been strongly encouraged to keep away from the novices. Still, Haywood Paxton was one of the least menacing individuals she'd ever met. Would you be on a quest then? He asked enthusiastically. Not that you need pay any mind to owe me, of course. I shall gladly shove off if told to. But I'm heading out to Sarasio on the Emperor's business, and I should be glad of the company, I don't mind telling you. If there's any place that could benefit from a taste of Ave's fist, that's it for sure. No, she said with some hesitation, and a small twinge of guilt. Actually, I'm going to college, at least for now. That was the goddess's command. I'm sure she has good reason. Why did she feel the need to explain herself to the stranger? It wasn't his business. It wasn't even hers. If Away chose to send her paladin to university rather than to the battlefield, well, she was entitled, no matter how Tricini chaffed at what felt like a waste of a call. Goodness me, to college? This line is heading straight out of the civilized treasuries. Nothing but the Golden Seas, tribes of wild elves, and a few country towns where we... Oh, his expression cleared and he nodded sagely. Lost Rock, then? Yes, to Professor Talrin's university. You've heard of it? Indeed I have, Miss Avella, indeed I have. Avella. You don't last long in my line of work without knowing who all the players in the great game are. Ominous breath. I should have put that together the moment I noticed you in that armor. My brains are getting as droopy as my jaws, I declare. He grinned at her with such genuine good humor, she had to smile back. God. A sharp retort, like the crack of a whip, resonated through their little chamber, and the caravan lurched. Then it began moving smoothly forward. Tricini found herself pressed back into her seat, while Paxton had to cling to a handbar and superstitiously brace his leg against the branch beside her to keep from being poured out of his. My goodness, they don't give us much time to get settled, do they? He grinned cheerily. I can't imagine how ticket holders ever manage to get into their cars in time. Ticket holders? Oh yes, he explained. Most people must purchase a ticket to ride the rail. It's good for only one specific trip, and then you have to buy another to ride again. Laying these rails isn't cheap. The Empire has to fund it somehow. Nobody told me about tickets, she said in some alarm. They had left the station behind in seconds, and just now were racing past the borders for Caladras, fast enough that she could barely make out the difference between the city and country scenery. It evolved from a greyish blur to a greenish one, and the caravan still accelerated. Paxton's face was beginning to bleed with sweat from the effort of holding himself in his seat. Not to worry, my dear. The rails are free to imperial agents and officials of the church, which clearly includes you. Oh, but I didn't even see anyone collecting. That is, none of the guards asked me about. Well, obviously, station officials know a bit more about the world than the average run of hayseeds who might be riding the rails. One look at that armor and they'll just let you hop into whatever caravan you please without so much as a word. My thing went out. Did I miss chat? I cannot alt tab. I didn't miss chat. It is good. Can I pop out chat? How do I do that? It's a non-mod settings. Okay, give me a second. Let me pop out chat. Because that's a lot easier to read chat while reading books. Pop out chat. There we go. Alright, now I can see chat. Wonderful. Is this how... Oh, I think we can add chat to the top of the screen now. I'll figure it out later. Well, obviously, station officials know a bit more about the world than the average run of hayseeds who might be riding the rails. One look at that armor and they'll let you hop into whatever caravan when you so please without so much as a word. Oh, she said again, now feeling rather guilty. Oh, I hope I didn't cheat somebody out of a seat. Nonsense. They never sell enough tickets to fill out a caravan. They leave some seats open for the likes of us. And if none such come along, well, these things run faster the less weighted down they are. Everybody wins. Except the people who have to pay for passage. Well, I suppose not. He conceded, his smile fading somewhat. But then again, if they weren't paying for tickets, the rails couldn't run. Then nobody would have them. It just seems unfair, she murmured. Very little in this world is fair, Miss Avila. For the first time, the cheer had fled his face, leaving a somber and far-away expression. May you have better luck than I've had finding remedies for it. The silence that fell in the compartment was strained and awkward. Tricity feared little, but was unpracticed at social subtleties. She couldn't decide whether to avoid Paxton's eyes or meet them, whether to leave the quiet alone or try to fill it. He took the dilemma out of her hands moments later when the acceleration finally leveled off. The surveyor grunted, settling himself back into his seat now that he didn't have to brace himself into it. Whew. Every trip an adventure. You know, the rail cars servicing the interior provinces have buckled seatbelts on each seat for the passengers to strap themselves in. It seems there's been no budget for upgrading the old frontier equipment just yet. Tricity nodded, unsure whether she had preferred that. It would be nice to not be tossed around, but she wasn't at all certain she'd care to be strapped in either. Oh, here comes the wide arc around the Mirror Lakes, Mr. Paxton said, peering out the window. Best brace yourself, Miss Avila, we're going to... And then the ground whipped out from under them. The caravan curved so sharply to the right that its left wall became the new de facto floor. Paxton was tossed against it with a grunt. Only Trissini's trained reflexes saved her from a pummeling. Spinning on the bench, she stuck one foot against the wall and another on the seat opposite, while grabbing her shield as it tried to fly across the car. It was made to endure much more abuse than being dropped, but it had been a gift from the goddess herself, and Trissini hated to see it handled disrespectfully. Almost, her fellow traveler cried with a grin. More than a dozen trips on this line. One day I'll have that timing down exactly. She grinned back. The man's good humor really was infectious. I don't know why I'm looking at Chatia. Fuck. The car leveled out so abruptly that they were both thrust back in the opposite direction. Paxton slid along his bench, this time very nearly tumbling to the floor. Trissini managed to pivot in midair, never releasing her hold on her shield, again bracing herself with her foot against the opposite seat. They blinked and stared at each other, both pale, then at her boot, which had struck down directly between his legs on the edge of the bench. Had he slid 6 inches further, he'd have come to grief on her grieve. I'm sorry, she blurted, quickly folding herself back into her own bench. Ha! No harm done, he reassured her, pulling his handkerchief from his waistcoat pocket and mopping his face. Though that's a nearer miss than I usually have before even getting off the caravan. Are they always this bad? Well, depends on the rail we ride. They try to lay them in the straightest lines possible, but there's some things that cannot be carved through. It's when the rail has to dodge around obstacles that we have trouble. But that's the price we pay for speed. You know, when I first started out in the Emperor's service, the journey from Caladras to Lost Rock would have been weeks. Now we should be there within another 5 minutes, and I'll be safely to Sarasio not more than 15 after that. I believe, Trissini said, shifting on the seat. I like that idea of belted seats very much the more I think about it. Why didn't they put those in the caravans in the first place? You see, the enchantments that make these beauties run are still newfangled enough that much of the older generation doesn't trust them, my dear. When this caravan was built, there was nobody to ride it but soldiers, imperial agents, and adventurers heading to the frontier. You know, the sort of folk who aren't apt to put up a fuss about their safety or comfort. He edged towards the opposite wall, getting a good grip on the handlebar and bracing both legs against a branch. Common folk riding the rails are a pretty new event, considering, and few enough of them take these out lines. You'll want to brace yourself, Miss Avella. We're coming up on the worst stretch of this particular journey. She slid her shield against the wall opposite him, sat down on it, gripped the bar, and placed a foot against the far bench. Not a moment too soon. The caravan changed course with a wrench that drew a gun from her, even as it flattened Mr. Paxton against the other wall of the car. What followed was even worse than her first trip down from the mountainous territory of Verdril. The rail apparently dodged back and forth through some kind of obstacle course, yanking them first one way, then the other, before they had time to compensate. She couldn't spare the attention to try to study the passing scenery, keeping her arms and legs constantly tense against the forces seeking to toss her about in the car. Paxton kept his grip on his handlebar, though at one point he lost his seat and was flung full length across the bench, still clinging to the wall, and only recovered his position upon being shoved back into it. Trissini quickly lost track of the passage of time. Her arms and legs were growing sore, and even her jaw started to ache from the effort of holding it closed. Letting it bounce was a sure way to bite off a chunk of tongue. As suddenly as the chaos had begun, it ended. The caravan sailed along in near silence and perfect balance, its two shaken passengers blinking at each other. Is it over? She asked uncertainly. For the moment, he replied, heaving himself back onto the bench with a grunt. He'd not managed to avoid a tumble to the floor in the last moments. They really should post warnings. That's one of the worst stretches in the entire rail network, you know? Not much else is even half so bad. He shifted about on his seat, straightening his rumpled clothes. What exactly were we dodging around? She settled herself. Surreptitiously stretching tense muscles. Tristany felt a moment of envy for her trunk, safely lashed in below her seat. Why, that's the green belt, so they call it. It's a whole network of elven forests separated by fairly small stretches of open grassland. Different tribes of elves, you see, and they'd worked out a solution to their border conflicts by making sure they weren't even in the same forest. All this was long before the Empire, or even any humans living in the area. He chuckled, dabbing sweat from his face again. So when the first surveyors came to find a route for the rail, they ran into ill luck. Oh, the elves were very polite, as they always are, but dead set against letting the rail come through any of the woodland. Finally, one poor fool lost patience and told them it would have to be done whether they liked it or not. He laughed aloud, shaking his head. Yes, I heard it. They politely told him to invite the Emperor to try it. I'm a little surprised he didn't, she replied. The Empire conquered every other human nation on the continent after all. Aren't elves a bit primitive? Well, yes and no, he smiled broadly, clearly enjoying his role as storyteller. They're not primitive in the sense of lacking magic and sophistication of their own. They just choose to live a little closer to nature than we do. It's been a long time since Imperial agents choose to mistake the one for the other. For all our new magics and enchants, the elves are something the Emperor is wise not to provoke. It makes for a ghastly muddle, with them living in their own enclaves all across Imperial territory. The surveyors finally chose to mark off the elven provinces as reserves and leave them there, and leave them alone. Absently, she ran a hand along the edge of her shield, pondering. I seldom met any back home, and then only one or two at a time. They seem rather standoffish as a rule. Anybody act different traveling in foreign lands than they would at home, surrounded by kinsmen. Professor Telrin is an elf, Tristany mused. That she is, Paxton nodded, grinning. An old one, and one of the most notorious people alive of any race. Not had the pleasure of meeting her myself, and for that I can't decide if I'm grateful or disappointed. We're coming up in the large stretch of our run, Miss Avella. Hold tight now. She swiftly followed his instruction, but it was not nearly as bad as before. The rail curved in another long sweep to her right, but this one much more shallow. Tristany got a good grip on her handle and had no trouble staying seated, though the centrifugal force tried to tug her back across the bench. If you crane your neck a bit, Miss Avila, you can see your destination. I recommend it. Last Rock is quite a sight from a distance. Indeed it was. She had to press her cheek to the glass to manage a good view, but it was worth the minor discomfort. They long past the hilly regions surrounding the Caladras, and even the elven forests. Here was low, rolling scrubland, fading before her eyes into the golden sea up ahead. The huge and very magical stretch of pear that occupied the heart of the continent. Webb, if you're here, there are still grammar mistakes, whatever you call those, editing mistakes, I guess. The Emperor had encircled it entirely, but the Golden Sea was much larger within than without. Some theorized one could travel into it forever and never reach the other side. It was a territory that could not truly be explored, much less conquered, but the Emperor did the best he could, establishing a pyramid of forts and settlements along its frontier. One of these was the tiny town of Last Rock. The town itself was a small and rather sad cluster of buildings, dwarfed by the mountain from which it drew its name, rising straight up from the plain without so much as a hill within sight. The rock itself was tall enough to be taken seriously in most mountain ranges, and seemed utterly colossal in its flat environs. Wedge-shaped, it formed a rising prow cutting into the deep golden sea itself, falling sharply in rocky cliffs from its highest edges, but sloping gently up from the other side in an incline that was no steeper than the average staircase. It resembled a long, narrow plateau, tilted up with one end sunk into the ground. Now, a path ran from the town of Lastra up towards its peak, and the upper quarter of the town was covered in with the spires and terraces of the university, a home for the next 4 years. Oh my god. Sorry for the break. My throat is dry as fuck. Now, a path ran from the town of Lastra up towards its peak. The upper quarter of the mountain was covered with the spires and terraces of the university, her home for the next 4 years. I just reread the paragraph. Oops. Trissini eased back into her seat against the force of the curve. They had already drawn too close for her to get a solid look at anything, and she didn't care to look like an overeager child with his face smashed against the glass. Not bad, is it? Her seatmate said with a grin. Ah, the things there are to see along this frontier, and all along over the Empire for that matter. Well, no rush. I expect you, of all people, will be completely acquainted with it in time. I expect so, she murmured. As the curve of the rail leveled out, she slid along her bench away from him, gripped her shield in one hand and braced both feet against the side opposite. As if on cue, the caravan decelerated sharply, seeking to pitch her face first against the front wall. Trissini didn't let out her breath until the caravan finally came to a full stop with a muted squeal. Paxton sighed in unison with her, again straightening his coat. Well, I believe this is your stop, ma'am. May I just say again that it has been an honor. I appreciate your company, she replied, this time with a genuine smile, and the information. Oh, pish tosh! Just an old man's ramblings about all the things he's seen. Trust me, you'd find it much less interesting if you had to endure it more than once. She begged to unfasten her trunk and pull it out from under the seat, exchanging a grin with him one more time as she slung her shield onto her back. Still, it was a much better journey than the last one. May I offer you a blessing, Mr. Paxton? His grin vanished at once into a nearly awestruck expression. Oh, well, that is, if you feel it's, I'll be honored. Smiling, Trissini reached across the narrow compartment to place a hand on his brow, not minding the sweat in his hair. A soft golden glow rose about them, seemingly from the air itself. She felt her own aches washing away in proximity to the divine power that was merely being channeled through her and into the man beneath her palm. Peace and justice be upon you, friend, she intoned softly, hearing the resonance in her voice of the goddess echoing. And away watch your path. Trissini let her hand fall, enjoying the serenity that always came in the aftermath of calling on Ave. Haywood Paxton's face held an expression of almost childlike wonder. I swear, you took 10 years off me. Mr. Vayler, I don't know how to... Just be as kind to the next person you travel with as well, she replied. Oh, that I shall. This has been a real gift, ma'am. A very rare privilege. He trailed off, seeming at a loss for words for once. With a final smile, Trisini pulled open the compartment door and stepped out onto the platform of Last Rock. Ah! And that's the chapter. And I feel like my throat has killed itself. Hoorah! Oh, Daisy came on that one. Oh, a bunch of people are online. That's an entire 3 hours with maybe an hour break. So that's an hour per chapter. Jesus Christ. A few years of streaming. Jesus. Holy crap. Let me just F11. That's not the F11 I wanted. But yeah, this is a book I love and have loved for a really long time. Oh, it's one of my favorite books. Oh my god, I feel really tired. But I want to play a game, so we're gonna switch. Why do I've been having skip frames every 2 minutes for the past 3 hours. Wonderful. Thank you, Manny, for the hype. Also, I want to try this now that I know it's a thing. Just casually, just. Then, let's see. Add a new source, browser source. It works! Yep, definitely works. Oh, that's cool. I could do that and then change the width to like 400. No, it's not 400, it's 500, isn't it? Nope, 500 is too much. Let's try 460. 480. Yeah, 480 is it? $800. Too much. What's the background color for? What's black? Is it 100? No, it has to be RGBA. 000 is white. Because that's what it is right now. Like. This is what's in the thing. Yeah, I know F is white. Oh wait, actually, this is CSS. I can just go. That didn't work. Background color didn't work. Never mind. Oh, that's because that's body. I see, I see. Hmm. Theme. Well, can't find it. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Use a different thing for it. Yeah. I mean, I was just wondering if I could do it. Cause it's fun. I want to see if that works, basically. Okay, cool. That's interesting. It's something that I could possibly change around and fix out for next time, of course. Not something I'm going to keep up today. But that's cool. That's good to know. Good to know indeed. Alright. Okay, we are done with reading for today. I'm tired. Tired of reading. And it's been a long day. So we're on chapter 2 now. I need to remember that somehow. What else? What else? Yeah, I do have that sore throat. Why did it just get tagged in the thing? Where did I get tagged in the thing? The fuck? Where did I get tagged? Anyway, oh shit, it's already 4. Maybe I don't continue. I thought I heard something. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna stop for here. I'm tired. Actually, I don't really want to play games either. And I've also promised some friends that I would be watching John Wick with them on Discord. So possibly what I'm gonna do. And apparently, music volume is so low it's not even fucking transmitting over OBS. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Benny, for the resub, and thank you all for putting points into the community challenge. I hate all of you. Thank you, Falsey, for the Outlast, and fuck you. I have 2 people still streaming right now. Would you... Let's see, where do you guys want to go? Mainly Sam and Manny, because you both are the only ones here. Do you want to go to Falsey, who's playing Dragon Age Origins? Or do you want to go to a new friend I've made called Cheap? He's playing Beat Saber right now. And He's also the one who's brought me into fucking, what do you call that? Crowd control. Yes, that's the word. I have other people as well. I have someone playing Overwatch. I have someone playing Final Fantasy 7 for the first time apparently. I'm Les. You've seen him around often. Also have another friend playing Terraria. Any games you guys want to see specifically? Also someone playing Call of Duty Warzone and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Sam, any preferences? Lucy, if you're still here, any preferences? Do I think you're already gone into the chat? Okay, I'm gonna guess nothing. Then I'm just gonna read who I want to read. I'm gonna read Cheat, because Cheat's a good friend of mine. I've recently met him. I'm blanking out on words, but he's an IT guy as well. He's done some fun stuff. He's helped. He's introduced me to crowd control, which will let you guys control my games, which I'm planning to get set up with Minecraft, and not now, but like in a while. Stuff on my screen. What else? He's a variety streamer. He's been streaming a bunch of games. He streamed. I don't know if he finished Cyberpunk, but he has been streaming Cyberpunk. He's playing Beat Saber right now. Anything else about Cheat that I can tell you all to do? Give him love. Give him love. We don't have a raid message yet, so just spam all your love emotes. If you want, you can spam whistles. What else? Yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Fast. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Solar. Thank you, Falsey, for coming in. Anyone I've forgotten? Nope, that's everyone who's here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here for this stream as well. It's one of the streams that I'll remember, I think, because I was so nervous at the start, and I'm still kind of nervous, but I think I did okay. Did I do okay? I hope I did okay. But anyway, we're gonna rate sheet in 3, 2, 1. Bye bye. Have a good day.